Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Warzone, we obviously look at a bunch of different niches here on the channel, whether it be the long range options, the close range options, the weapons that have the best TTK in the game. There's also, though, a lot of weapons, especially this year, that are extremely easy to use. Borderline laser beam-esque at any given range. And with that today, I really wanted to highlight 5 of the absolute lowest recoil, easy to use guns. So if you just want to drop in with something and absolutely beam from really any range, you can do so with really minimal effort. So it's been a minute since we've talked about this one, but the Pulemyot 762 conversion kit is finally back in the conversation, and it's because it is so easy to use. This thing's recoil pattern, very straightforward. It's basically a relatively vertical pattern with a slight right curve, if you will, so up and to the right basically throughout. Its damage obviously nowadays is not anything too crazy. Its TTK is not going to stand out that much, but the benefit of low recoil weapons, and this really applies to all the guns we're talking about today, is the fact that because you can be so accurate with these, your realistic TTK, when you factor in missing 10 shots out of 50 or something, is going to be a lot more competitive to some of those other great options than you might realize. So the Pulemyot, despite being maybe a little bit slower in terms of TTK compared to the Bruin or the Holger or something, is actually a whole lot easier. So you might be better off using something like this if you want that just very straightforward setup. As far as the overall loadout goes here, we obviously want to use the conversion kit. The bullpup kit on here makes it a lot more like an AR and LMG hybrid, but you got 100 rounds so you can spray and pray. The conversion kit does grant you access to the Commando 15 recoil pad, which is just great for general recoil control here. Plus that helps out with some firing aim stability. I go for the basic 2.5 times eagle eye optic on here. If there's a different optic you prefer more, always go for that. The conversion kit also gives us the Jack Annihilator long barrel, which is just simply better range and velocity. It's already so easy to use that not getting extra control out of this is not really a big deal. Plus I also use the Spirit Fire Suppressor. This is going to help out with some range, velocity, and some control. So this setup in general makes an already very easy to use weapon even easier. You love to see that. This thing is definitely one of the best low recoil guns at the moment. Now the MW2 MP7, aka the Vel 46, is also an extremely easy to use weapon. This thing actually has the largest recoil pattern from like bottom to top out of everything on the list today, except this recoil pattern is literally just straight vertical. So it is so easy to counter. Obviously it's an SMG, so you're really not using this outside of probably 30-35 meters max. So it's going to be really easy to stay on target. Obviously close range fights, recoil is already easier to manage as is. You factor in this weapon being so ridiculously straightforward as well, and you've got a very nice situation there. Plus it has a pizza blueprint. I mean, we've got pepperonis and cheese on our weapon here. That's a win as well. So initially here I go for the Assault 60 stock. This actually does help out with control, and it's only hurting your crouch movement speed significantly, then 3% to your ADS. Not a huge deal whatsoever. 50 round extended mag here. If you wanted to jump up to 60, you could do that as well. There's really no wrong answer there. I actually go for the angled underbarrel in this case. Now if you were more movement based, you already find the weapon easy enough. You could switch on over to DR6 hand stop. That'd be a great alternative too. But with the angled grip, it's really not hurting anything but your vertical control, which we already know is so easy that that's not a huge deal. It's going to give you good horizontal. So ultimately you're making this pattern be entirely vertical. Really no deviance, no RNG there. Incredibly predictable. So I do like that on there as well. But like I said, if you want to focus on movement, you can definitely get away with that on this build too. Lastly, Zem 35 compensator, again helping out with the control, really not doing much to our ADS speed, also giving us better firing aim stability as well. So this setup again makes a very easy to use weapon even easier. Once more, a lethal combo there. Its TTK is all right, but again, you factor in accuracy, especially when you get into like the mid-range, and this thing can actually hold its own. By the way, as we're going through all the loadouts here today, if you enjoy the video or if you find it helpful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you are new to the channel or you simply have not subscribed yet, let's change that, because every single day I got you covered with news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns, all things going on in COD are right here. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. Next up, we've actually got the Lachmann 556. Now this was buffed recently. It wasn't a super significant buff because it kind of focused on its close range, and this is definitely more of a mid to long range based weapon, but again, incredibly easy to use. For this, it's basically a slight vertical recoil pattern, and then about halfway through your mag, it just stops and stays super steady, which is really convenient. This means that really over some very extreme long distances, you could be ridiculously accurate with this thing. Now again, its damage is not anything too crazy, but realistically, when you factor in accuracy, its TTK becomes a whole lot more competitive when it's one of the easiest to use rifles in the entire game, or really one of the easiest to use weapons in the entire game. So again, for the mid to long range, we are once more using that 2.5 times Eagle Eye optic here. I got the 60 round extended mag, obviously works great for really any squad size. Once more, I am going for the angled underbarrel just to minimize really any cons here. Helps out that horizontal control and helps out the idle sway. You could run Bruin heavy here if you wanted even more control. Just keep in mind it's going to slow you down a tad bit more. I also go for the wrap barrel. This is better range, better velocity, better control. And then lastly, Spirit Fire Suppressor once more. Better range, better velocity, better control, better pizza, Papa John's. I should have said that on the MP7. That's a miss on me. I won't lie. I'll own up to that one. But yeah, the Lachmann 5.56, actually pretty nice. This thing gets one or two more buffs for its long range or even its mid range. You could be looking at a really great top tier rifle. And then another MW2 rifle that is phenomenal, we've talked about this one a lot recently, obviously, is the STB 5.56. This actually has a really good TTK, especially when you get into the mid-range and the long range. It's able to compete with other top tier meta options in general, and then you factor in its recoil, and it's also a great choice there too. So this is basically a minimal vertical and to the right pattern, so not much deviance originally, just straight up and to the right throughout. So once more, very easy to predict and very easy to counter. You would get great control and really good damage, and you've got one grade A rifle in my opinion. Only downside here is going to be this 42 round mag. It's just not enough ammo in a lot of cases, so that's why people opt for other choices, and I get it. Reloading in the middle of a fight sucks, and you have to do that a lot with this gun. 2.5 times Eagle Eye yet again, surprise surprise. I go for the rear guard barrel, just helps out with range and velocity. Again, weapon is so easy that it's not a huge deal. We're not getting control here. Bruin heavy support in this case though, better horizontal, better gun kick, firing aim stability, idle sway, all the best benefits you could have for a control based build. And the Spirit Fire Suppressor yet again for that 3-in-1 combo, and of course keeping us off the map per usual. So yeah, we've obviously talked about the STB a lot like I said, but it's put in the work. Don't sleep on this thing. It's actually pretty nasty. Hey everyone, briefly wanted to shout out my friends over at Gamer Advantage. Of course, Gamer Advantage is no stranger here on the channel. I'm rocking my Horizon frames in every single face cam video here on the channel because truly they are game changers. I sleep better because of them. My eye strain's not as bad when I'm wearing them, and honestly, even on days where I'm not just gaming, I'm editing, I'm doing other side work, when I'm looking at screens for long periods of time, these are by far the most important part of my day-to-day setup. So if you are looking at screens all day long, you're doing work, you're doing school, you're gaming, do yourself a favor, pick up a pair of Gamer Advantage glasses. They got a little bit of something for everyone. Plenty of different frame options in different colorways. They also offer support for any type of prescription lenses you may need. And if you throw in code Immortal at checkout, you'll get a pretty nice discount. Link for that will be down in the description below. And then lastly, here we have basically the SMG counterpart of the STB 5.56, the MX9. So yes, both of these AUG platform weapons are incredibly easy to use. When it comes to the MX9, this is basically a vertical with a very slight S curve in it, not really super drastic by any means. So again, pretty easy to actually predict that and hold back on your stick accordingly when you're trying to make it have essentially zero recoil. Once more, similar thing with the AUG platform weapons, only a 32 round mag, so not a whole lot to work with here, which is a bummer because its TTK is actually decent for an MW2 SMG, and obviously it's super easy to use. So if you had more ammo, this would probably be a top tier SMG choice. It's just very limited to basically solos and duos realistically, but we're obviously using that 32 round mag. I actually go for the Q900 rear grip for the better ADS and sprint to fire, and it ends up hurting your control a little bit, but this thing's so easy in the close range that that's not a huge deal. I do find myself to be way more accurate with an optic here. I don't really love the irons, so I go for a slate reflector. An ELO sight would work, a NIDAR, a glassless, anything like that that you're comfortable with. Feel free to run that, obviously. I go for the S901 barrel. This helps out with some range and some velocity, makes it a little bit more consistent in the mid-range. Obviously, the velo here is really not great, so if we can get that up, that's definitely ideal. And then lastly, I do go for the ZEM 35 compensator. While it is hurting that velocity some, unfortunately, you know, you can't put on high grain or something in this case or extend that range or velo even more. That would be ideal. ideal, but with what we got to work with here, this is an alright setup, and especially if you're looking for something easy and straightforward for the close range, this thing's first damage range TCK is up there with some of the best SMG options, surprisingly. But that being said, those are 5 of the lowest recoil, easy to use weapons in Warzone right now. That's gonna wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can always guarantee you're up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.